I thought that this break in my career was going to be really hard to bounce back from and like difficult to re-enter the workforce.
Thank you so much for being on my podcast today. We have Jasmine as Assistant Director Campus Recruiting from Crow. And I met Jasmine at AICPA Women Global Leadership Conference. And I really like her story. So I'm so excited to have her on my podcast today. So Jasmine, before we start talking about your career path, can you share with us a little bit more about yourself?
Sure. So I am Jasmine. I live in Charlotte, North Carolina. I'm originally from New York and New Jersey. I am a avid reader. I love to travel.
Awesome. And I look at your career path is a little bit different from traditional path that we go to from public to private. But your path is going to start from private and then public. By the way, it was my path too. I start in private and then go to public. But before you start in private, I'm just curious, why did you choose the accounting major in college?
Oh, okay. Such a good question. So this goes back to my older sister. I was getting ready to go to college and I thought I wanted to be an attorney. So I was super excited to get to school and like be on this attorney career path, working obviously with a political science major. And, this was going to be my path. And I went to go to orientation and my older sister was like, if you get to school and you don't really like political science major.
Wow, so you wanted to be a lawyer at the beginning. Is that because you love arguing?
I would say debate, right? Like,
Okay, debate. Okay. Good way to say it.
yeah, I think just the attorney career just fascinated me. Just different aspects, right? Being able to, as you would say, argue a case. I did a little bit of like debate club in high school.
It looks like after you graduate with the accounting major, you start working in private first. I'm just wondering why you chose private instead of public. When you go to all the recruitment process, they will recommending you, hey, go to Big Four, go to public accounting, and then you go to private.
So I went to college in '07, and 3 years later, I graduated with 2 degrees. So I graduated in 2010 at the height of the financial crisis, and there were no jobs. And so I left school, with an accounting and a finance undergraduate degree. And I knew that public accounting at that time wasn't right for me. I didn't want to be in a very cutthroat environment.
So you work at the restaurants in the accounting department. So did you have discount if you want to order food from the restaurant?
So at the time, yes, we could go into local restaurants and order. I used to work for Cheeseburger in Paradise. So it formerly was owned by like the Outback Steakhouse chain, and they went private for a little while and then they sold. And that's actually what shifted my job right at the time in restaurant accounting. So I'm at a point in my career where I've been laid off and, I get severance. I'm trying to figure out what's next. I built this career in restaurant accounting.
Oh, that's interesting. She actually suggests you to work for her prior firm. So she knows that she's going to lose you. You're not going
She
to have
did.
her in her
She
job
did.
anymore.
She did. So I think we were at a time, right, in the company. Things were shifting a little bit. We were kind of going through a restructuring. And it was one of those things where she was like, the professional acumen that you have, right? Like how you approach your day to day.
I think it's so lucky that you have such a great mentor because she puts your own interest first, not her interest. Because if she puts her interest first, she would like to keep you at the current position so you can get her job done. So you were very lucky to have her as a mentor in your earlier career. And you mentioned that because of her, you decided to have the CPA license, and it looks like you came back to college.
Thank you for pulling that together. So I was actually working on my master's degree while working full time. So long days, long nights, but I got it done. So from 2011 to 2014, did my master's part time, was working towards that 150 credit hours. And in 2014, was when I actually made the jump into public accounting. And so I took a little bit of a pay cut. I relocated. I started anew, right? And had an amazing group of people. That was my starting class. We were 6 people and just really got my feet wet.
But I'm just curious, when you move from private to public, in public you have a lot of options like audit, tax, advisory, or anything else. But no, you went straight to audit. Did your mentor advise you that, or that's what you feel like you wanted to do?
Yeah, that's a good question. So my mentor was a former audit senior manager. And so she recommended that I go into audit. I actually also spent a little bit of time at a mom and pop tax company when I was just coming out of college. And so that's how I know how to do my taxes confidently. I plugged and chugged. I called people to follow up, like, hey, you had this 1099-R last year. Like, I didn't see it in your information this year. And just following up those different things. And so I gained an appreciation for tax. Tax is amazing. You definitely need to know how to do your own taxes. It'll save you an arm and a leg. It'll keep you out of trouble. And it's also so, so important, right? Like, part of our economy is paying taxes. It's following up and reconciling on said taxes.
You should have no issues with the audit exams, or like if you do tax, you should have no issue with the regulation section. But it's not that case. It's not that case. I was on the same page with you. After you share your experience, I will share mine because mine just like crazy.
Yeah, so it's so funny that, we had very similar experiences. So I go into the test, right? I'm like, I got this. I came out with something in like the 50s and was like soul crushed. I was like, all right, like let me try again. Let me try something different, right? So I think I went in for BEC and audit, and I think I paid for another notice to schedule. Mind you, I don't have robust CPA materials. Like, I was just trying some different things. I had a Gleim book from college and was like, I got this. Not the case. And so I was like, it's not great. I'm going to put this down for a little bit. I really leaned into learning more in public accounting. And it wasn't until 2016. So now I'm 2 years into public accounting.
Wow. And so I guess you studied these 8 months. Hold on. If it is 8 months, it means there's a period that you studied during busy season.
So I actually ended during busy season. I started testing in June of 2016, and I wrapped up in early February of 2017.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And like one more kicker, I actually saved FAR for last because I was afraid. Everybody says that they failed this one. They say it's the hardest one. And so I was afraid, and I was like, all right, let me get some wind under my wings. And so I was able to pass, I think my order was BEC, audit, reg, FAR. And kind of once I got a little bit confident, right? I was like, oh my gosh, I passed. All right, next one. Oh my gosh, I passed. Next one.
Yes. It doesn't matter how long it takes, how difficult it is, but as long as we make it, that it's done. It's just funny that you so determined at the end, like, I have to pass this in this first try. Mine is different because I work in private before, so I was confident with FAR and I passed FAR in the first try. But then I have issue with audit class when I was in college. And then I was like, no, I'm going to work in audit in public. I'm going to pass this audit exam with no issue. It took me 3 times to pass audit. And then in the last time when I took audit, it was in the last month of the 18-month window when I already passed all other 3 sections. And I was like, with the same mindset you mentioned about FAR, like you have to pass this. I was the same. I had to pass this audit section in this last month. So I literally studied 5 different study material in the last month. I was like, there's no chance I'm going to fail this exam at that moment, I told myself. So I think I studied Baker, Roger, another 71, it is Ninja, and 2 other small one. And I was like, I took all the exams. I even print out the audit report And then I put it all around my bedroom, my bathroom, in front of the mirror. And I even remember every single word in that report. Like when I took that exam, I could just write the report right on spot. That that I was like, I couldn't fail this exam, this section.
No failing. It wasn't an option. And I think to something that is really important to point out is just the support, right? Like going into that process, it sucked. I missed some things, but also I did a lot in that 8 months. It was close to the time my husband and we eloped. We threw a very small party, a couple of parties for family and friends in a couple of states, but we took a big trip internationally. We had some family travel. We still did a lot, but I set expectations. And I think that's something that's really important for people as they are going on the CPA journey is, right, you've got to set those expectations around, hey.
Yeah, oh my God. Talking about traveling, you have such adventurous life that I would love you to share with the audience about how adventurous you and your husband are. Because at the conference, Jasmine shared with me and people in the room about all the crazy things that her and her husband have done. So Jasmine shared with us about the life on the sailboat, also
Yes.
motorbike experience. Oh my God, that's all interesting stories.
I love it, Rosie. I love your excitement. I'm going to take a little bit of a turn in the story, right? Like a lot of the things I've shared have been really good and glowing, and I struggled as well. There was periods of time that I definitely struggled. So I go to Australia. It was a good experience as a professional, amazing experience, personally. But I come back and I figured out that the way that we're living in the US is very different than how people in Europe, say, or people in Australia are living. And I learned, right, in Australia, people go to work in order to afford the lifestyles that they want and just achieve the things that they want to do.